if that is to work, I believe that the solution has to be quite well articulated. In other words, if you're going to have boycott, you have to say what your solution is. And I don't know if that is being articulated, if it's already everybody knows and I'm just the last to know because I'm Jewish. But what is the solution that is going to bring everybody together, or will it just be mass demonstrations against the power that's there now, but proposing what? I'm asking you also as a historian, does that kind of popular power have to propose a solution, or does it simply come out in the streets and put pressure on companies to boycott, and then a solution is come to by the powers? I don't really
the goal essentially to end the occupation?
And the occupation, is that that's the sole goal?
There's different.
No, it
Yeah,
will
I'm
be also
wondering,
a
because
democratic
Sari seems
state.
to be talking about
There's different
something.
versions of it.
No, it has to be a democratic state. I mean,
Oh, of course.
that all
Yeah.
citizens, whether Jews
Oh,
or
it has to be a one-state
Palestinian,
solution.
one-state solution, and eventually
does?
it has to be.
And I think it's important to bear in mind again that although here in the U.S. we're not seeing that much evidence of the boycott. In Europe, which is Israel's largest trading partner, we have to bear that in mind. The EU is Israel's largest trading partner. The boycott is a phenomenal success so far, and it's still only in its infancy also. So, I mean, there are lots and lots of examples I can give. My favorite example remains the case of the Davis Cup tennis match in Sweden, which I'm sure you heard about. Did you hear about that last spring? Which we think sports is sports, but sports actually they were a major component of the boycott in South Africa against apartheid in South Africa. And when there was a Davis Cup tennis match between Israel and Sweden to be played in Stockholm, and because of anticipated protests outside the Stockholm stadium, at the last minute the Swedish authorities moved the match from Stockholm to Malmö, to a completely empty stadium. There were no fans allowed at the stadium. So if you think of, that's 2009, that an Israeli tennis player is in Sweden to play a Davis Cup, which is a major tennis match, and it's a completely empty stadium. What does that say about where Israeli PR is? It goes back to your question of what does that say? Who's winning and who's losing in this struggle? I think, and that's one example among many, many examples.
Well, as you know, the U.S. is more crucial than Europe in terms of.
Not economically.
They don't buy more.
Not economically.
It's closer to Europe.
Yeah, that's their market. Actually, is the EU.
This is the very last question.
Understandable. Going back to the U.S.'s role in this whole picture, we're talking about Israel and Palestine. We didn't get much to Lebanon, but as an attorney, one of the first rules of mediation is that the mediator has to be objective. And so if the mediator is biased to one of the parties, obviously that mediation is not going to lead to a good result and not going to be viewed as fair by the other party. So looking at the U.S.'s role, do you think that the U.S. can be a fair mediator given the political and economic support that is given to one side, perhaps over the other? And if not, should the U.S. allow another country to take that role and perhaps lessen our role in that process, because it seems to be causing some more animosity against the U.S. in other parts of the world?
The honest broker question.
The honest broker question. Well, there have been other participants in trying to broker a peace besides the United States. The UN has been in there, France, Russia. You need an honest broker, and I don't know, I feel very sad about this whole thing, frankly, because I feel sorry in some deep ethnic way that Israel has come to this pass. But you need to have an honest broker. Now, the Israelis are never going to want an honest broker. That's the problem. And any broker the Palestinians like, the Israelis are going to say, that's not an honest broker, that he's on their side, and vice versa at this point. Now, but I do agree with Sari that if pressure is really brought, and Israelis really feel pressure, all sorts of honesty can come to pass. Because I know how I'm feeling right now, thinking of the boycott, and just imagining Israel in these conditions, I think immediately, oh yes, they can be pressured. And I do think they can be pressured. And I think, but I think you have to look at what happened to Jimmy Carter too, because for a while he was an honest broker, now he's like anathema to all Israelis. So that's what happens to
Obama's
people.
anathema to most Israelis.
I think that's true, and he has hardly done a thing.
Yeah, I think the people of the world are the honest brokers, and it's ordinary people we have to look to be honest brokers in this case. And I think they will rise to the occasion as they have before. So the idea of looking at statesmen with a stake in this right now as honest brokers, it has not worked, it's not going to work, and I think we should stop thinking that it might be made to
But do
work.
you think with the levels of aid that have gone on, I mean, when I was in college, I did a research paper on this, and it's still continuing at those levels after so much time.
No,
You know,
it's
can we be an
incredible.
honest broker if we're supplying one side with a lot of economic assistance
No,
and
it always
military aid?
seems.
So
The U.S. never
that's
was.
causing us more problems.
But
Yeah,
the
the
US
US
has not
never
been
was.
an honest broker
No,
in
it
all
wasn't.
the things that they've brokered throughout the world, that
Yeah.
they are just like any other government, they act in their own interest, they think their interest is with the Israelis, but will they think that?
Well, actually, that's the other thing. Is
That's
that
the other thing.
more and more people in the U.S. are beginning to realize it's not in America's interest to back Israel. The
Well,
Walter
in this
Mearsheimer book
situation
is
now,
that-
and there's
that's
a
what that was
question,
all about. So in a way, the opposition
Right.
to Israel in the U.S. is not just from people like Carter, who are sort of saying this is morally wrong, but also people from the right, like Walter Mearsheimer, who are saying, what does this have to do with American national interest? And the answer is nothing. It doesn't help. It's on the contrary, it hurts America's national interest in the long run. So, you know, that's why there's more.
and
more
if all of
opposition.
this is true, then in the end, I think Jews will come around. It's entirely possible, because if they begin to see that they are being held up to the world, and I'm not saying I believe this is true or not, but if they see that they're being held up to the world as the impediment to all peace and all prosperity and all happiness and all calm, they will begin to be frightened for themselves, as they have been in the past, and they will begin to say, we need to reevaluate our position in this country. Not this country, but in Israel.
Well, on that note, please join me in thanking Amy Lawrence.